Warm regards to everyone watching this video. My name is Bharat Sadhwani, a second year MBBS student from JLN Medical College Ajmer. Today I'll be sharing a piece of information about inoculated culture media. So first thing first, what is a culture medium? Culture medium is a group of chemicals or simply a combination of chemicals which can support the growth of microbes on it. Now, culture media can be of two types. One is inoculated culture media and another one is uninoculated culture media. Inoculated culture media simply means that bacteria are inoculated over it. And what does inoculation means? Inoculation means simply transfer of microbes from specimen to culture medium. So inoculated culture media are those which are loaded with microbes on it. So today we'll be going through various bacteria and on what culture media they can grow on and what are their cultural characteristics. So the first bacteria which we will be studying is Staphylococcus. Now Staphylococcus, first its word root. दो word से मिलके बना है Staphylo and coccus. Coccus means spherical we know and staphylo means grape-like cluster. So their morphology is generally like this. They are clustered like this, like the grapes. So this is their general morphology. Now all the members of this genus, they have something in common. They are gram positive. They are facultative anaerobes. They are non-motile and they are catalase positive. This is important. They are catalase positive because this feature helps them distinguishing from Streptococcus. जो Streptococcus हैं वो लोग होते हैं catalase negative, but Staphylococcus they are catalase positive. Now next, they are culture media जिस पे वो ग्रो कर सकते हैं. तो यहाँ पे हमारे पास दो कल्चर मीडिया होते हैं. पहला मीडियम है the first medium being nutrient agar and the second medium being blood agar. ये इन दो मीडिया पे ग्रो कर सकते हैं Staphylococcus. Now the organism which I am picking is Staph aureus. बेसिकली जो मैं कल्चर मीडिया की बात करने वाला हूँ मैं बात करने वाला हूँ Staph aureus की. So growth of colonies of Staph aureus on nutrient agar, how they look like? They look like this. This is nutrient agar. And what is nutrient agar? Nutrient agar is one of the basal medium. Basal medium means it is the minimum requirement which a microbe basically requires to grow on it. For example, nutrient agar is simply what? It is agar mixed with nutrient broth. 2% agar with nutrient broth makes nutrient agar, and nutrient broth is made up of peptone, NaCl and water. So this is nutrient agar. And how do colonies of Staph aureus look on it? They simply appear golden yellow. The colonies appear golden yellow. Now I do not have yellow color, so simply I'm using black color. Probably I made big colonies. They don't look like this big. They're small colonies like this. They look yellowish. Now why do they look yellowish? Because Staph aureus, it secretes a non-diffusible pigment. Staph aureus, what it does, it secretes a non-diffusible golden yellow pigment. And that golden yellow pigment is ultimately responsible for their golden yellow color on nutrient agar. Now you can appreciate this golden yellow color from its name, aureus. Aureus comes from the Greek word aurum, which means gold. So Staph aureus, their colonies on nutrient agar, they are golden yellow. Now their colonies on blood agar. Now what is blood agar? It is again a modification of nutrient agar where you add sheep blood horse blood, and blood of various animals to make it look this red. This is blood agar, and it is used to grow fastidious organisms. Now, what happens? Once you inoculate Staph aureus in this blood agar, its colonies, they are of size of pinhead, and they look yellowish. I don't have yellow color, so I'm using black color. They look yellowish. Now, why do they look yellowish? There's a zone created here around those colonies. It's a size of pinhead. I cannot be accurate on this board, so I'm just drawing it like this for explanatory purpose. Its colonies are size of pinhead. They are circular. As you can appreciate here, they are circular. Also, they are convex. The elevation is convex. Convex means when you look at like this, at the plane of that plate, you will appreciate the colonies forming. The colonies are convex upwards like this. So they are convex, pinhead size, circular, and opaque. Now, why is it zone created around them, yellowish zone? This zone is created because of hemolysis. We know that these bacteria, they are pathogenic. And why do they cause pathology? Because of the virulence factors they are loaded with. These are just like armory they have by which they can invade our body and cause diseases. So the virulence factors they have is hemolysin, because of which they can clear the zone of RBCs. See, this is blood agar. So obviously it contains red blood cells. So whenever these bacteria are inoculated, whenever these bacteria are present on this blood agar, they simply produce this virulence factor, because of which they create these zones by clearing of these RBCs using those virulence factors, hemolins. And we call this process hemolysis. Now, hemolysis is of 3 types: alpha, beta, and gamma. Now, alpha hemolysis is partial hemolysis. Beta hemolysis is complete hemolysis. And gamma hemolysis is basically no hemolysis. हम इनके बारे में भी देखने वाले हैं, अभी स्ट्रैप में भी हम देखने वाले हैं. सो सिंपली यहाँ पर जिस टाइप का हेमोलिसिस होता है बीटा हेमोलिसिस. यहाँ पे कंप्लीट हेमोलिसिस होता है. तो जो स्टैफ ऑरियस होता है, स्टैफ ऑरियस, इट्स कॉलोनीज ऑन ब्लड agar. Why do they look yellowish with clear zone around those colonies? Because of beta hemolysis. So this was about Staph aureus and its cultural characteristics. Okay, one more thing. On nutrient agar also, their characteristics, their size, all these things, opaque, convexity, circular, and pinhead, they are same also in nutrient agar. Just one difference, there they secrete a non-diffusible pigment, golden yellow. That's it. Now next is Streptococcus. Now Streptococcus, again, strap means chains and coccus means spherical. So they look like these chains of spherical balls, like berries. So these are its general morphology of this of those organisms of Streptococcus. So first thing, they are gram positive. Again, they are facultative anaerobes. They are oxidase and catalase negative. Catalase negative, it's important because it helps them differentiate from Staphylococcus. Now, again, these are also some of the members of this genus, Streptococcus. They are normal commensals of our body, like Strep agalactia. It is normal resident of vagina, but sometimes it can also cause pathology or pathogenic conditions like or during time of childbirth, vaginal birth. There, the baby, whenever it emerges out of vagina, birth canal of the mother, then it can acquire these organisms and they can cause neonatal infection. Now, about cultural characteristics, they also cause some serious diseases like rheumatic fever, non-suppurative lesions, etc. So, cultural characteristics. First, these are grown on blood agar because they are fastidious. Now specifically, I'll be focusing on one of the member of this group, that is strep pyogenes. I'll be focusing on this organism, how its colonies look like on blood agar. So first, on blood agar. Again, this is a blood agar. Now here, when you inoculate strep pyogenes, then their size is pinpoint like. Strep pyogenes colonies, they look like pinpoint. Their size is approximately like that of pinpoint. Now यहाँ पे हम ये चीज़ अप्रिशिएट कर सकते हैं कि जो स्टैफ की कॉलोनीज थी उनका जो साइज था वो पिन का एक एक्सट्रीम था, उनका हेड, और जो स्ट्रेप्टोकोकस हैं इनका जो साइज है वो दूसरा एक्सट्रीम है पिन का, पिन पॉइंट. सो ऑब्वियसली हमें पता है डायमीटर किसका कम होगा, पिन पॉइंट का. सो इनका डायमीटर ऑब्वियसली कम होता है स्टेफ ऑरियस की कॉलोनी से. तो इनका साइज है पिन पॉइंट. दे आर सर्कुलर, ओपेक, एंड अगेन दे आर कॉन्वेक्स. एलिवेशन है इनका कॉन्वेक्स ऐसा. Okay, so blood agar पे again on blood agar what they do, they also cause hemolysis because of virulence factor they have, hemolysin. So because of hemolysis, again यहाँ पे तीन टाइप की hemolysis की हम बात कर चुके हैं, अल्फा, बीटा एंड gamma. Few members they carry out alpha hemolysis, others give beta and others give gamma. So the members which give alpha hemolysis, they are like pneumococcus, which we also know by name strep pneumonia because it is the most common cause of commonly acquired pneumonia. Then beta hemolysis, we can see this in as pyogenes, strep pyogenes and strep agalactia. These can give beta hemolysis, and gamma hemolysis it's given by Enterococcus. We are interested in as pyogenes, obviously it's going to give beta hemolysis. Now here, the beta hemolysis is going to be creating a wider zone, and here you will be seeing colorless zones. It was yellow in case of Staph aureus. You will be seeing here colorless zones. Now the zones of hemolysis here, they are wider. This is important. Zone of hemolysis on blood agar is wider. So this was about S. pyogenes. We culture it. We try to make it grow on blood agar, and here is the characteristics of its colonies. It looks like this. So this was about strep. Now next is Corynebacterium diphthery. First about this genus Corynebacterium. Now this Corynebacterium, they are again gram positive. They are bacillus, that is rod shaped, but they are irregularly shaped because of granules they have. Their structure is like this, and actually Corynebacterium means club shaped, so it resembles a club, and here's those granules which make it look club-shaped. These are the granules which make it look club-shaped. So it's a structure of Corynebacterium. This is just a rough diagram to give us an idea. Now these granules, what are these granules? These granules contain polymetaphosphate. These granules are called, metachromatic granules. They are metachromatic granules, also called Babes-Ernst granules. Now these polymetaphosphate, simply they are phosphate, right? Their structure is like this, which is the one we had studied in our 12th standard chemistry. Their structure, it is metaphosphate. Now these metaphosphates, obviously they are negatively charged. So now we can appreciate this thing that we would be needing basic dyes to stain them. Why so? Because basic dyes, they produce a cationic component, and cationic component is going to bind with this negative components, polymetaphosphates, negatively charged, which are going to help in staining. So this is about Corynebacterium diphthery, general features. Now next, its culture. Now Corynebacterium, it is grown on Loeffler's serum slope, and it's also grown on MacLeod's medium, which is simply a potassium tellurite agar. It's simply a modification of that PTA, potassium tellurite agar. Now on Loeffler's serum slope, this is, I'm drawing here Loeffler's serum slope. Now when you inoculate it with Corynebacterium diphthery, I'm talking about Corynebacterium diphthery now, one of the member of Corynebacterium genus. Its colonies here look white, they are small and circular, and they appear white, they are glistering. The characteristics, the cultural characteristics, they are small, circular, white and glistening. But after 6 to 8 hours of incubation, these white colonies, they turn yellowish. So we are likely to see yellow color here or whitish color here on Loeffler's serum slope of this bacterium. So this is going to be its cultural characteristic on Loeffler's serum slope. Now there's one benefit on growing it on Loeffler's serum slope. Why? Because this growth is rapid. You get the results within 6 to 8 hours, unlike the one which we are going to see in potassium tellurite agar. So growth is rapid. So this is one of the benefits of growing Corynebacterium diphthery on Loeffler's serum slope. Now, there's one more disadvantage of growing it over it also. There's one disadvantage also. Now that disadvantage is that because this Loeffler serum slope is nutritive, so what happens? Many other commensals also, because we collect the specimens of Corynebacterium by throat swab. So many commensals of throat which obviously हमें उनकी ज़रूरत नहीं है यहाँ पे, बट अगर वो ग्रो कर जाते हैं तो वो प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर देता है, तो रिजल्ट जो होते हैं वो एक्यूरेट नहीं आ पाते हैं. सो दिस इज वन ऑफ द डिसएडवांटेज ऑफ यूजिंग Loeffler serum slope to grow Corynebacterium diphthery on MacLeod's medium. What is going to happen? See, MacLeod's medium is potassium tellurite agar. What is going to happen on this medium? When you inoculate it with Corynebacterium, the colonies appear black. They appear black. Now why does this happen? Because you see, this is the formula of potassium tellurite, K2TeO3. Now oxidation state of tellurium here is +4. What happens? Corynebacterium diphthery what they do, they simply provide electrons to this potassium tellurite. And what is going to happen? It turns it into tellurium metal. So here its oxidation state is 0, earlier it was +4. So now it is reduced, and this metallic tellurium is responsible for black color. So this is the chemistry of changing of color after inoculation of Corynebacterium on potassium tellurite agar. Here tellurite is selective, and it is this potassium tellurite agar and this potassium tellurite agar, this is this tellurium which makes it selective, and potassium is simply a cofactor which is necessary for fission. So this was about Corynebacterium. Our next bacterium is Pseudomonas. So about Pseudomonas, first, it is gram-negative, it is motile because it has a polar flagella, it's capsulated also, you can also say it's capsulated, and this is going to come handy. So this is generally about Pseudomonas. Now this Pseudomonas, it is highly notorious. It is involved in many nosocomial infections, the infections in hospital settings. And the problem is, it infects high-risk individuals. That is, those individuals whose immune system is not that responsive to infections. So, as it infects high-risk individuals, and at the top of it, Pseudomonas generally it's associated with multi-drug resistance. So its treatment is really a tough nut to crack. So this was something generally general sayings about Pseudomonas. Next, we'll be seeing its cultural characteristics and the culture it grows on. So the culture it grows on, the first is Peptone water, simple nutritive medium, and its colonies on this Peptone water, they simply produce a surface pellicle. Surface pellicle, it is created because of lot of gases try to move out of that medium, and specifically here a lot of oxygen is produced, and that oxygen makes the surface pellicle. And the moment you see surface pellicle on this Peptone water, you know that this is inoculated. So this is Peptone water. This is not important one, but the one which is important is nutrient agar. Its growth on nutrient agar, how it looks like on nutrient agar. So on nutrient agar, firstly let's draw it here. Pseudomonas, I'm talking about Pseudomonas aeruginosa here. Pseudomonas aeruginosa. This Pseudomonas aeruginosa on nutrient agar, its colonies, first let's see the characteristics. They are large, they are flat, they are irregular, and they produce a diffusible pigment. They produce a diffusible pigment, and I'll be telling you about this diffusible pigment, but let's just draw its colonies. Its colonies are large, irregularly shaped. Colony is simply a growth of particular type of bacteria originating from a common parent. So these are its colonies, irregularly shaped, large, and how they look like. See, I'm showing it with green color. The colonies look green. They may look bluish green or yellowish green. It depends on the pigment they produce. So the cultural characteristic, you can also add that because of this diffusible pigments, this diffusible pigment surrounds this whole nutrient agar and makes it look green, basically green, and it can be added with a shade of blue or yellow, simply depending on the pigment. If it is bluish green, then the pigment produced is pyocyanin. You can appreciate blue color by this word cyanin. Cyanin means bluish. So pyocyanin and pyoverdin, because of pyoverdin it looks yellowish green, mainly green. So these are two chemicals because of which its colonies look of this particular color. Now this pyoverdin and pyocyanin, there's one more important thing associated with them. Sometimes when they cause infection in its host, human host, obviously this formation of those pus, and that pus, it may be of fruity odor. Why of fruity odor? Because of production of this chemical pyocyanin. It has fruity odor. fruity odor, and they also look bluish green because of simultaneous production of pyocyanin and pyoverdin. So these were the characteristics of Pseudomonas colonies on nutrient agar. Now next one. Our next group is Enterobacteriaceae. Now this genus, it includes a lot of members like Klebsiella, Escherichia coli, Salmonella, Citrobacter. So all those are included in this genus. We'll be discussing about them one by one, but first of all, there's something that's something we should know about this bacteria first. This genus. The members of this genus, they are gram negative, they are facultative, anaerobes. These two things we should know about them. And one more thing, they are catalase positive. So they are catalase positive. They're catalase positive. This thing we should also know about all the members of this genus. So the first member which we are going to talk about is E. coli. This organism, now this organism, it can grow. The culture it grows on. It can grow on blood agar as well, but basically for Enterobacteriaceae, the medium we use to differentiate their members. See, when I'm talking about their members, there's a lot of similarity between them. They have a common Enterobacter antigen also. They may be lactose fermenters or non-lactose fermenters, but to distinguish them from one another, we use another medium, and that is MacConkey agar. Now something about MacConkey agar first. MacConkey agar, it is specific for gram negative. So this means that gram positive organisms cannot grow on it. So whenever we see that we have inoculated it, or say we have provided a MacConkey agar plate and there we see no growth of microbes, then we can conclude that maybe the organisms are gram positive or no organisms are present, simply. Because obviously if there are no organisms, then also there would be no growth. So, and whenever we see growth, then we can for sure say that it is gram negative growing on it. So MacConkey agar is specific for gram negative. Now, furthermore, on MacConkey agar, depending on the color, if color is pinkish, then the organisms growing on it, they are LF, lactose fermenters. And if color is pale or whitish, then we say the organisms growing on it, they are non-lactose fermenters. They are non-lactose fermenters. Now why this pink color appears and why pale color appears? See, what happens, these bacteria, Enterobacteriaceae, they have one enzyme, that is beta galactosidase, and because of that they break lactose into glucose and galactose. This glucose by glycolysis, through the pathway of glycolysis, gets converted to pyruvate, and this pyruvate by lactate dehydrogenase. Lactate dehydrogenase gets converted to lactate. Now you see this is lactate. Ultimately there's production of lactate, and this lactate is responsible for dropping the pH. It decreases pH because it is acidic. So now if the pH drops below 6.8, then the color is pink. And if the pH is in the range of 6.8 to 8, 8 is around alkaline and 6 is near neutral. So around neutral to a slightly alkaline 8 pH, the color is going to be pale. So this is the reason why these organisms on MacConkey agar, they produce specific colors. So McConkey agar acts as indicator here. It's an indicator medium here. So this was about McConkey agar basics. Now, next, E. coli. What about E. coli? Escherichia coli, again, it's the member of Enterobacteria. It's gram-negative, facultative, anaerobe, catalase positive. Now, its colonies, it can also grow on blood agar and it can also grow on McConkey agar. On blood agar, it produces slight hemolysis also, but that thing is not important. Its colonies, they are big, circular, but that thing is not very important. The important is inoculated Escherichia coli on McConkey agar because its colonies here, they produce pinkish color because they are lactose fermenters. They are gram negative and they are lactose fermenters. So their colonies, they are on McConkey agar, they are pinkish, circular, flat, and this one is very important, non-mucoid. Now I'll be telling you why this non-mucoid was very important. Just for a moment. This was Escherichia coli. Now next organism which we grow here is Klebsiella. Specifically, I'm talking about Klebsiella pneumonia. Now this Klebsiella, when it is grown on McConkey agar, again this is lactose fermenter, so its colonies would be pinkish. Now if we talk about its colonies, the cultural characteristics of its colonies, it is large, circular, dome-shaped elevation, pinkish colonies, large, dome-shaped elevation, and mucoid colonies. See, there is not much difference between Escherichia coli and Klebsiella on McConkey agar, but this thing, mucoid and non-mucoid, is very important to differentiate them. These mucoid colonies, it is believed that this mucoid, sticky jelly-like, it's because of their characteristic, they are encapsulated, so because of that they have mucoid colonies. So this was about Klebsiella. Now next. Next is Serratia. Serratia, and one such organism which is very important clinically in this group is Serratia marcescens. So this Serratia, again this is lactose fermenter, so its colonies, they look pinkish, they are circular, simply this much, that's enough. Now there's one more thing very important about Serratia. It produces a chemical protegiocin, and this protegiocin is responsible for red color in sputum. See, sometimes we collect sample from the patients and this sputum basically it contains, sometimes when it's red, then we usually mistake it for hemoptysis. But when actually it is the red color because of protegiocin which is secreted by Serratia. It is many times responsible for causing nosocomial infections in hospital settings. So this was Serratia marcescens. Next member is Proteus. Now Proteus, about this again, it is member of Enterobacteria, gram-negative, facultative, anaerobe, these things we know about it. It grows on McConkey agar. The important thing is it is non-lactose fermenter. So its colonies on McConkey agar. Its colonies on McConkey agar, they are going to be pale, or you can say colorless, but we prefer pale. So its colonies are going to be colorless, they would be circular, and one more thing, there would be no swarming. On McConkey agar, there would be no swarming. Why is it so? See, on blood agar and nutrient agar, when we make it grow on blood agar and nutrient agar, it shows swarming. Swarming means like this. It creates wavy margins because of some motile cells which are present. And if this is blood agar, say if I'm saying this is blood agar, then those motile cells are going to form a certain region around it with these wavy margins, and this is called swarming. And swarming makes it occupy almost whole plate. So it keeps on spreading because of those motile cells. Now blood agar, it contains 2% agar. So on McConkey agar, it doesn't show swarming, but there's a different reason to it. Sometimes to prevent it from swarming, we make concentration of agar to 6%. Or we add certain inhibitors or some surface active agents. Surface active agents, they tend to reduce surface tension. And you know what? This McConkey agar, it contains bile acid taurocolate. This taurocolate is responsible, it acts as a typical type of surface active antigen, surface active agent, and that is responsible for preventing swarming on McConkey agar. So this is very important. Now, also, the composition of McConkey agar, it contains neutral red, and this neutral red is the one which produces those color pink and pale on pH change. It contains taurocolate and those peptones, NaCl, etc. So this was about Enterobacteriaceae. The last one. Last culture medium is Muller-Hinton agar. Muller-Hinton agar. Now, what is this Muller-Hinton agar? See, it is a non-differential, non-selective type of non-differential type of nutrient medium. Now, if it is non-selective, non-differential, then almost all the organisms can grow over it, and that is something which we exploit out of it. Now, how? See, this Muller-Hinton agar. First of all, its uses. It is used in AST, antibiotic susceptibility test. Also, it is sometimes used to isolate Neisseria and Moraxella species. It is used to isolate them, Neisseria and Moraxella species. Now, its composition. It is nutrient agar. Also, along with it, it contains few enzymes like hydrolysate of starch, peptone agar. This is what it is made up of. Now, how we do antibiotic susceptibility test? See, this is my MHA Muller-Hinton agar. What I do, I place discs inside of it. These are discs I'm placing inside of it. And what is importance of these discs? These discs are loaded with antibiotics like Optogen, penicillin, streptomycin. You load it with any antibiotic. Simply, I've got this agar. What I do, I simply inoculate it. I load it with microbes. And what is going to happen? See, there are two things that you can see around this. There would be a zone of clearance around this. The first scenario is there would be a formation of zone of clearance around disk, and in second case there would be no zone of clearance around these disks. Now what does this indicate? First of all, let's say I've loaded this disk with BASIC tracing. I've loaded this disk with token and this with penicillin. Say for instance this is any microbe I've loaded it with, and now what is going to happen, I'm considering these 3 disks. सिर्फ ये 3 डिस्क की बात करने वाले हम अभी. जो बेसिक ट्रेसन वाली डिस्क है और ऑप्टोचिन वाली डिस्क है, these 2 disks, these are surrounded by a zone of clearance. These zone of clearance are those zones where microbes are dead. Here microbes, either their growth was inhibited or they were killed, cidal action. So those disks around which you can appreciate the zone of clearances, those zones, those disks indicate that bacteria is sensitive to these antibiotics. And wherever there is no zone of clearance, where there is no zone of this inhibition, that suggests that bacteria have developed resistance against these antibiotics. Like this bacteria is resistant to penicillin. So this is how we simply interpret this Muller-Hinton-Agar growth of microbes around various disks, zone of clearance, and simply sometimes if it is resistant to particular antibiotic, then there would be no zone of clearance. So this is about Muller-Hinton-Agar. Even one more important thing about it, we sterilize it. Sterilization, for sterilizing it, we use autoclave, and the temperature we provide is 121 degrees Celsius only for 15 minutes. 15 minutes is standing time for it. So this was about Muller-Hinton-Agar, and that's all. So first we saw about Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, Corynebacterium, diphthery, Pseudomonas, Enterobacteriaceae, and then Muller-Hinton-Agar. So that's all. Thank you. At last, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor and Head of Department, Dr. V.L. Rastogi ma'am, and my teachers of Microbiology Department for bestowing me with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to deliver this e-seminar. Also, all my teachers, they are prime health workers at this hour. They are working tirelessly every single day. Yet, they make sure that we keep on learning every single day. For that, they leave no stone unturned. And for that, a big thanks to my teachers.